Level 1, zero income. The box on the form is empty where money should be. You sit in the waiting room and stare at the ticket in your hand. 47, they're serving 22. The plastic chair hurts your back. It was designed to, you overdrafted your life by $4 and the government doesn't care about the $4. The caseworker takes them without looking at your face. She types. She tells you the rent subsidy is $380. Your rent is $900. The math says you should move. You ask where. She points to a list. The list is a map of poverty you already know. You apply for SNAP. The card takes 6 weeks. You eat lunch from a church pantry. Not by choice. You walk past the grocery store and keep walking like you weren't going there. Anyway, your coworker asks if you want to grab food after your shift. You say you already ate. You didn't. Hunger at this level isn't growling. It's silent. It's the kind that fills you with shame because you've learned to perform full. You come back for the appointment. The caseworker is different. Same desk, same computer. She asks for the same papers. You gave them last time. They were scanned. She says she needs them again. You miss 4 hours of work. The bus takes 90 minutes each way. The penalty for being poor is that poverty takes your time. And time is the only thing you had left. The next morning, your rent payment fails because the voucher is late. The landlord charges a $75 late fee. Your phone bill bounces. The math you couldn't fix at zero is now 200 deep. You skip lunch on Wednesday, not by choice. You walk into the office on Friday. The clerk looks at her screen and her face changes in a way you've seen before. Not anger, not pity. Something colder. You watch yourself stop being a person on her screen and start being a case number, a category, a risk score with shoes. You leave without saying what you came to say. They try to call. The hold music loops, a voice answers, reads from a script, tells them benefits can't be expedited at this time. They don't know yet that the system isn't broken. The system is working exactly the way it was built to. You started feeling like a problem. The government just decides who you are based on what's next to your name. Level 2, 24,000. You're not on welfare anymore. You pulled yourself above the line 60 hours a week to make 24,000 stay alive for 1 year. You did it. Nobody clapped. Nobody noticed. The government noticed, but not in a good way. Tax season hits. You owe $800. You didn't save for it. There was nothing to save. You go to the strip mall tax place. They offer you a refund anticipation loan. You don't have a refund. You have a debt. The IRS charges you interest while you pay them back from money you never had. You're paying the government to hold the debt you earned by working. You log in and see the payment disappear overnight. No warning, no notification. The system doesn't explain, it executes. You drive to work because the bus doesn't run that early. A taillight is out. A cop pulls you over. $150. You can't pay it in 30 days. It becomes $300. Your license gets suspended. You drive anyway because not driving means not working. You get pulled over again. Now it's $500 and a court date. The public defender has 200 cases. He meets you in the hallway. He tells you to plead. You plead because you can't miss work. Your manager doesn't fire you. He just looks at you a little longer than usual. You walk into the courthouse to ask about the fee. The clerk is helping the person in front of you, smiling, asking about their weekend. When you step up, the smile changes, becomes professional, trained. You weren't refused. You weren't insulted. You were just moved through like luggage on a belt. The government doesn't see you as a citizen at 24,000. The government doesn't see you at all. You exist in their courts. You don't exist in their attention. You drive to work because the bus doesn't run that early. The government was just indifferent, and indifference at scale looks exactly like cruelty. You're not you're represented for 60 hours a week to make 24,000 stay alive for 1 year. Your car is barely holding together, but it's the only thing that holds your job together. You don't take sick days because sick days are unpaid days and unpaid days are rent days that don't happen. The same system that ignored you at 24,000 just said yes to you at 55,000. You didn't change. The bracket did. Level 3, 55,000. Something shifted. Not in your paycheck. In the way the government looks at you. Your W-2 arrives. Taxes are withheld. You file online. The refund is $1,200. The first time it hits, you check 3 times to make sure. The same government that charged you interest on poverty just gave you money back. The child tax credit arrives. $2,000. You feel seen. You apply for FAFSA for your kid. The form takes 3 hours. The EFC number makes no sense. You qualify for nothing. Your neighbor who makes $35,000 gets a Pell Grant. You make too much for help, not enough to pay. You buy a small house. The mortgage interest deduction saves you $800. You notice the difference? The tax code stops being a wall and starts being a maze. You can navigate it, but you need help. You pay $300 for software. The same system that ignored you at 24,000 just said yes to you at 55,000. You walk into the post office and the clerk says good morning before you reach the counter. Not the warmth she gives the wealthy customer, but not the silence she gave you at 24,000 either. Something in between, recognition without warmth, service without effort, the middle ground where most Americans live. You realize something nobody tells you. The government doesn't care who you are. The government cares what your tax return looks like, and at 55,000 your tax return looks like something they can sell things to. Nothing changed except your behavior matched a profile that earns them votes, so they let you keep yours. You're not invisible anymore. You're not respected either. You're profitable. Level 4, 150,000. You log into the IRS portal and notice your account has a flag. Not a bad one, a green flag. A "where's my refund" tracker that actually works. The next week you get a letter, not automated, from your representative's office. A survey. What issues matter to you? You fill it out. Someone calls. A staffer? They take notes. You mention a zoning issue near your kid's school. 3 weeks later, a letter arrives. Thank you for your input. The same institution that put you on hold for 40 minutes at 24,000 just wrote you back. The property tax on your house is 6,000. You pay it. It hurts, but you pay it. You get a letter about a discrepancy on your return. You call your accountant, he calls the IRS practitioner line. It gets resolved in a week. No form, no phone tree, no script. Just an email that says taken care of. The same problems that drained your energy for years are now optional. The system didn't change, your tier did. You start getting emails from your representative, town halls, constituent services, subject lines with your first name, small touches, personalization. The government is courting you now, not aggressively, subtly. The way someone treats a voter they don't want to lose. You realize something hidden from you at every level below this one. The government wasn't mean to you when you were poor. The government was just indifferent, and indifference at scale looks exactly like cruelty. You're not represented in, you're represented for. Level 5, 300,000. The government calls you a job creator now. The word shows up in speeches, in tax policy debates, on the email signature of the man who handles your account at the IRS. You didn't earn the title. The number did. Your accountant becomes a real person now. A man named Richard who knows you have a rental property in Arizona because you mentioned it once 9 months ago. He emails on your birthday. Not automated, written. The detail is an accident. It's training. The government teaches him to remember small things because small things keep donors. You walk into a town hall and someone stands up to greet you. Not the staff, the representative. They shake your hand. They guide you past the rope line where everyone else waits. The same line you waited in at the DMV at 24,000. The line you didn't know had a door because you were standing inside it. A letter arrives. Not from the IRS, from the State Revenue Department. We'd like to discuss your business expansion. The same institution that audited your $800 debt at 24,000 is now asking how they can help you grow. The price of compliance is no longer something you negotiate, it's something offered to you. You get a call from a competitor state. They offer tax incentives to move your business. You mention this to Richard. He calls back within an hour with a counter strategy. The institution that ignored you for years is now competing to keep you. The government doesn't see you as a job creator at 300,000. The government sees you as worth defending. Level 6, 1 million. The government stops being a place you visit. It becomes a service that comes to you. Richard doesn't email anymore. Richard calls, and when he calls, he isn't asking how you are. He's asking when you'd like to meet his colleague who handles entity structuring. The colleague drives to your office, not the other way around. He brings printed code sections in a leather folder. He asks about your goals, your timeline, your tax structure, your estate plans. The conversation lasts 90 minutes, and at the end, he doesn't try to sell you anything. He just leaves a card and says he'll send a follow-up. The selling already happened. You just didn't notice it. You're not being offered deductions anymore. You're being consulted. The difference matters. A deduction is something the government lets you have. A consultation is something the government wants you to need, and needing them is worth more over time than deducting from them once. You call about an audit flag. Someone answers on the second ring. No hold music, no script. The problem is fixed in the same conversation. The same call would have taken a year and 4 transfers at 55,000. You attend a private dinner the representative hosts. 8 donors, a guest speaker, a view of the Capitol you've never seen from this angle. Nobody mentions taxes the entire night. Taxes are the table, not the conversation. You're not a constituent at 1 million. You're an asset they protect. Level 7, 10 million. Private policy. The phrase sounds the same as constituent services, but it isn't. Constituent services is a process. Private policy is a relationship, and relationships don't follow rules. They negotiate them. You don't have a representative anymore. You have a representative's ear. He manages fewer than 20 relationships. Yours is one of them. He knows your kids' names. He knows about the foundation you're thinking about starting because you mentioned it over coffee last March. The tax rate on your carried interest isn't published. It's negotiated. The audit that takes a regular citizen 2 years gets handled in 48 hours because someone was told whose account it is. You walk into a committee hearing you've never attended, and they know your name before you sign in. The system has flagged you across every agency, not because of fame, because of position. You exist in a database that prioritizes you before you ask. You sit in a conference room with no name on the door. The table is one piece of wood. The deal being discussed is a tax provision that won't appear on any public bill. The room exists because donors like you exist. The room only opens when the relationship justifies it. The government doesn't follow rules at 10 million. The government bends them for you. Level 8. 100 million. You don't have a representative anymore. You have a relationship, and the difference between those two words is the difference between this level and every level below it. Your relationship is a named line item in someone's performance review. Losing your support would matter to careers. The institution doesn't compete to keep you. The institution organizes itself around not losing you. 3 people inside the government exist partially because of your account. They don't know that. You don't either, but the math is real. The laws are bespoke, not a bill, not a statute. Sentences written for one donor. The tax rate on your income is negotiated in a phone call. The terms of a subsidy are drafted to your timeline. You don't apply for things at 100 million. Things apply for you? Legislation is brought to you before it's publicly available. Policy is structured around your participation before you've agreed to participate, but the real shift isn't access, it's influence. The government doesn't just serve you, the government consults you. The Secretary of the Treasury asks for your opinion on capital gains reform. The head of the Fed flies out to ask what kind of regulatory environment their next tier of clients should expect. You're shaping the institution that once charged you $500 for a broken taillight. The government doesn't have a constituent at 100 million. The government has a partner, and the partner has a name, yours.